All right, good morning, Razor. Let's get right into it as we have our coffee. And here again is the very fancy homemade morning brew mug that has become quite the collector's item. Many people would like one. I'd like one too. So we'll have to figure it out, but we'll get some for everybody. I'm sure Aaron would love to see morning brew on your mug
Absolutely, yes.
in the morning. Yes, Victoria is dying for that. Card carrying member of the Goalies Union, you are. You have earned it, okay? But by being an analyst, you're also going to have to earn, I guess, the first question. Let's just get into it because a bunch of people are like, oh, geez, you got to stop some of those. And I'm talking about Tuukka Rask. I said in the post game, I don't blame him for any. Would I love to have seen one of those hit him? Sure. I my goal that I'd love to see stopped, I would say, would be the Van Riemsdyk goal from distance. I just thought he was looking down instead of up, but do I blame him because there was traffic all over the place? I don't. Give me your take first, and then we'll talk more about it. Bruins lose, by the way, in overtime 4-3 to the Caps. So this is Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Tell us about your opinion on Tuukka's performance.
I didn't see too much fault towards Tuukka as well. Backstrom's is a rocket. McAvoy gets backed in on him, and he takes advantage of using a little bit of a screen. It goes right over his ear, right around his ear. And then Wilson's is a screen in front, and then Ovechkin. You talked about the Van Riemsdyk. I'm not exactly sure, whether he was screened, whether he was projecting somewhere else. He didn't seem to read it the same way he usually does. So I expect he had something else happening. And then Ovechkin's Ovechkin. I mean, the guy's going 100 million miles an hour. He scored 708 goals in his career for a reason. So yes, you give up 4 goals. Anytime you give up 4 goals, it's not your best night. However, it's not. None of the goals are situations where you look around the league. Whether it's a guy scoring from a terrible angle because of a bad play by Tuukka, a bad read. It's not. He didn't read the pass back door, so he didn't get there on time. You could go through all the goals. There's a 7-minute video of all the goals in the NHL last night, and you're going to find half a dozen that are 100 times worse than what Tuukka gave up last night. Guys are in the NHL. They're good shooters. They can score some nights. He's not going to make 9 breakaway saves every single night.
Right, and he's been asked to do that an awful lot. Again, you are a card-carrying member, so some
Yes.
people are going to say, "Oh, defending the goalie." You know what? I even said on Nesson, I don't look at any of them and say, "Ugh, bad." I don't. I know some people just don't ever want to hear that, and never enough is enough. But let's use the comparable formula here. We're going to compare, or the comparison formula. If the Bruins had done that to the Washington Capitals and put Vitek Vanacek, okay, back on his heels all the time and scored 4 goals like that, everybody would be lauding the Bruins for getting their asses to the front, creating mid-level, high, low screens, whatever you want to call it, and they would say, awesome. They would say, that's how you've got to beat a National Hockey League goaltender. But yet when it happens to their own, they're not very satisfied with it. That's just the way of the world for Tuukka. It's that's just the way. But man, oh man, I thought the Bruins were the better team in the game. I really did overall, the better team in the game. And it was situational goodness. How's that for analysis?
Yeah, I love that goodness. That's a Sunday morning
Capitals
word.
Right, goodness. It was situational good. Like, okay, they got to the front. They screened when they had the opportunity. They had 3 goals on 11 shots, up 3-0. But I didn't think that they were like the dominant team in the game, except for good situational scoring. That's what I thought. That's how I saw it.
They took advantage of their chances. They're a good team. There's a bunch of good players, and the comparison of you look at it. I love what you just said. It's the same as how you used the referees the other night. Where if the Bruins are getting those calls, you're not really complaining. And in this situation, it's the exact same thing. If Brad Marchand goes in and rips it over the ear in the first period, we're going to say, what a great job driving the defenseman back, using him as a screen. You're going to show his hands. You're going to show him how he pulls the puck in. Then we're going to talk about Nick Ritchie having a great screen. and Shooter Smith shooting around it, finding that short side. And then at the end, we're going to talk about Brad Marchand doing a wonderful job in overtime, finding that low blocker shot. So that's what it was. And it happens. Other teams have good players. Other teams have good shooters. And sometimes the goalies get beat. Listen, it would be easier for me to analyze if they were bad goals.
Right.
It's not easy for me to analyze this and talk about it as card carrying, because sometimes you just get beat. If it was a bad play by him, it's much easier for me to break it down and explain why.
Yeah, and as a goalie, they always say the best quality that you need to have is when you get beat, you get beat. You know it, you move on from it, and you hope that the next time you don't. But those Caps they're damn good. But the good news is for me, as I watch the game, I know it's just the first time they've played of 8 this season, is that they weren't dominating the Bruins. Yeah. In the past, they've dominated the Bruins. I didn't think the Bruins were intimidated by them physically at all, which I thought was a glorious sign. I loved what Trent Frederick did with Tom Wilson. We talked on the show about that might be a punching up, literally and figuratively for him if they got into it. But Trent Frederick doesn't seem to care. And I love the fact that, the Bruins initiated contact. Look, the Caps have their hit count really high. I'm not going to say it's inflated. That's not fair because they got big boys over there. But they're always going to out-hit the other team. It's part of their game. But I don't think that they controlled the game. You tell me, not you, but anyway, where did they control the game? In no facet did they control the game. I thought it was a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thoroughly impressed. I think it's as good of a loss as you can have for this team. They dominated right from the start. The physicality, again, there's so much talk about Zdeno Chara. There's so much talk about how big and bad the Caps are, and the Bruins aren't going to be able to play tough enough now without Chara and all this. But there's none of that out there. There wasn't once where you feel, man, they got taken advantage in that situation, or they look a little intimidated in that situation. They played with speed the whole night, and we've now seen the top 3 of the top 4 teams, or I guess 4 of the top 5 teams, or the predictors from the start of the season: the Islanders, the Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and now the Caps. And I don't see how any of them beat the Bruins on a consistent basis.
Right. I mean, I think it'd be a great series in all of them. I think the Bruins, I do think right now the Bruins are better than the Penguins. I know they're missing guys on the back end. I still think they're better. The Flyers, I'm not sure about. I'm having a hard time figuring that team out. The Islanders, I don't see them as being as stout as they were at the end of last year. However, we've got a long way to go. They might just be a pain in the ass to play against when it's all said and done. The Caps, to me, are the best team. They're missing key players. They're still missing a guy like Kuznetsov and Orlov. Obviously, the goaltender Samsonov. But the Bruins are missing Grzelcyk, DeBrusk.
Pasta just comes back.
Pastrnak comes back. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about Pastrnak. I thought he was impactful. Yeah. I thought he was good to very good. I thought he had his giddy up and go. What did he have? 14 total attempts in the game, 5 that reached the net. Played over 20 minutes. And compare that or contrast it to Ovechkin, who only played 14 and a half minutes. Now, the difference being is that Ovechkin couldn't skate for the last 11 days. Couldn't even skate. I didn't really notice him, quite honestly, till the overtime goal. I mean, on a regular basis. Pastrnak, on the other hand, I noticed. I thought he was, for his first time back in a game, I thought he was good. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. Exactly what I expected. Get his 5 shots. I was surprised for him to get over that 20-minute mark. That's a lot of minutes for. And yes, he's skating. Yes, he's playing with the guys. But to get into game shape and play 20 minutes is a great sign. That means everything's feeling really, really good for him to get to that point. And we haven't talked about it. I'm interested on your thoughts. The one thing that stood out with him being on that line is the face-off plays. Marchand's goal comes off that face-off. We hadn't seen that the previous 8-9 games. You could see them try and run it a couple times, but as soon as David's back, how much it opens up. They ran one in the first that worked really well. It's really interesting to see how those face-off plays opened up instantly as soon as David comes back and how well they ran them again.
They do, yeah. They run them so well, and this is no disrespect to anybody else on the Bruins, any other right wing, because they're getting better, which is great. I know, again, they have injuries, okay? So folks, don't don't be yelling at me that, oh, they're good. I mean, when everybody's healthy, they've got better right wings. But you have to pay attention more to Pastrnak, anything right there, especially when they do the cross play and Pastrnak, if they bump it low and he's in that mid slot, if it's him for the one timer, it's phenomenal, right? And the release.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys are focused so much on him. That's why they utilize the McAvoy play. Situationally, it worked. And Charlie did a great job of getting below the goal line. Once he got below the goal line there, it was, wait, is he going behind the net? Is he going to pass it? The kid Siegenthaler all of a sudden starts doing the backstroke. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he's got to back up to Marchand. Now, Marchand isn't a righty. He's a lefty, so it sticks to the inside. And he still gets it cleanly, and he smokes it upstairs. So the movement, the fluidity of the face-off plays are glorious. Patrice Bergeron is the best face-off guy right now statistically in the National Hockey League. There's some other great ones. Bo Horvat comes to mind. Ryan O'Reilly comes to mind. And but right now, number-wise, Bergeron is 64%. 74, I believe, 74% is Wellraiser in the face-off circle on the power play. So that means that you're starting with the puck that much of the time. Face-off plays are huge. The Bruins in the last 4 or 5 years under Bruce Cassidy have taken their face-off plays to the next level. So I think nobody runs as many face-off plays as they do, and maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins do. And it makes sense given their personnel. But I agree with you. Pastrnak was good. We started to see the one-timer on the power play in the game, later in the game, with the opportunities late in the second period. So I was very happy. The response game, meaning now that second game back usually can always be the tougher one. The first game is full of P and V, right? You're all excited and everything, and then the second game, what's going to happen? We'll have to see there. I like the Bruins' attitude in the game. They're down 3-0. I love Bruce putting out 5 forwards on the power play too, late in that, in the second period. Why not? Why not? He's got no reason to not do it. Maybe it might bite you in the ass, but you don't have that one defender out there. But so what? You're down 3-0. So
you got to go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
So they get the Krejci goal. I know it was Rick Ritchie. I get it, and I love Big Nick in front. But I mean, I think that goes in if it doesn't even graze off of him. I think that ends up going in. But then the key to me were the other shifts at the end of the second period. It led to good things heading into the third period, and then the Bruins tie it up. Wanted to ask you about a goaltender when the Bruins tied up at 6-on-5, okay? And it's frenetic and all that. Goaltenders know it's 6-on-5. You treat it just like a penalty kill? What's the mindset right there when 6-on-5? The Bruins tied up on McAvoy's goal. It's
you're hanging on a little bit like a penalty kill, but there's so many more bodies with those two, 5-on-4 to 6-on-5. Those two extra 220-pound bodies out there really clog the ice. Mm-hmm. So it turns into like that goal, like the goal Charlie scored, with chaos in front. A lot of times it's nothing's clean. So that's the hardest part as a goaltender on 6-on-5 is that nothing's clean. The point shots are hitting bodies and going all over the place. The passes, you're trying to look through 3 or 4 or 5 different legs. So it becomes more challenging compared to a penalty kill in the fact that there's bodies. It's hard to find the puck. It's more scrambly, harder to really recognize where the threat's coming from. So as goaltenders, you're a little bit more reactive. Mm-hmm. You can't really see anything develop. You're just going by the seat of your pants and what's right in front of you.
And it was a scramble. And Krejci has a stick broken, and Pastrnak makes a great play to jump out from behind the defenseman to chip this to keep it alive. The goal doesn't happen. McAvoy doesn't get it if that doesn't happen, and so desperation mode. But the Bruins again didn't seem to lose their composure, which is great. Remember, the other day it was a 5-on-3 for a long time, and Krejci re-enters the zone with composure. That's so key. I know it sounds obvious, but if you don't have your composure, you're not gonna be successful at that level. And the Bruins found their composure at an important time.
Yeah, it's obvious and it's easy for us to talk about, but again, on a nightly basis, teams lose composure over and over and over again. And the Bruins haven't done that in the past, and it's a great sign through the 10 games that we're at now is that this team has that same identity, that they don't ever feel like they're out of a game. They don't ever feel like they're out of a power play. They always have a chance to strike, and that's a winning formula in the NHL to have that culture. Because again, you can go around the league and there's a bunch of teams that don't have it.
Right. I mean, they just don't have the resources and the
Yeah.
veteran resources. Who I know you played for a couple teams, so this is maybe not as easy a fair question, so to speak, but I'll still ask it anyways. So you played on a couple teams, but who's your best friend that you ended up playing against that went from one jersey to another? What I'm getting at is the whole Chara thing. We're seeing him in it. So who was that, and how was that experience for you?
Yeah, there's lots of guys there's a few guys, I should say. Hal Gill's one of the guys in the NHL. In the minors, my best friend in junior was Mike Zigomanis, and he played in Lowell. Ziggy was in Lowell. I was in Providence, so we played against each other all the time. He was the best man in my wedding. So that's a good comparison, like friend wise. Playing one of my.
Was it hard for you or no? Or was it once you're on the ice? I think once you're on the ice and you're playing against them, it's really almost the focus of the game, the control of the puck, so to speak, takes my mind off of who I know I'm playing against. I mean, I might love the guy or whatever, or I might think he's an asshole too. I don't know.
There's lots of assholes you end up playing against too. That your old teammates. You're like,
teammates, right? So, do you think it really was odd for the Bruins? Because they practiced against him so much. I know practice is different, but how odd do you think it was for the Bruins to play against him?
I think it's odd seeing him over there. But it's just as odd not having him in the opening day lineup. I'm sure everyone's happy to have it over with. I'm sure Zdeno. I mean, a great Bruins example is Joe Thornton coming back. I played with Joe Thornton. He got traded. He came back from San Jose. He played 2 shifts and got a 5-minute major against Hal Gill. So that was odd. That was very odd when he came back. But I think we saw it last night that Zdeno wasn't going to go around cross-checking everybody in the face because he could beat everybody up. He's going to play his game. The guys are going to go at him the same way they would any other 43-year-old defenseman in the league. They're going to try and put it in his corner. They're going to try and use their speed on him. And it's just any other game. I'm sure, again, there's warm-up, you're laughing, you're kind of talking about it, but at the end of the day, once the puck drops,
but not
your
Z,
focus
though.
is...
Z was like this, I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah.
Z was like this. He didn't care who was on the other side. He didn't look to the other side. I mean... Yeah,
he's going to overcompensate with that. Zdeno is not going to, do the...
Nothing's going to get in his way.
No, exactly.
I know this is a morning brew, but I want to revisit that Thornton play on Hal Gill, because I remember watching that and I was like, holy smokes, like what did Joe say about that? I mean, there's no way, I would never say he did it on purpose, but meaning, was he just trying to be more like... He
was trying to be more aggressive than
aggressive, right? Because showing that he was over it, so to speak. He was. I mean, did you talk to him about it right after the game? What happened?
It was more Hal and I. Skills. He's like, where did that come from? I mean, he was a little. So it was more a matter of similar to Zdeno overcompensating, being like this. I think Joe was the same way. He wanted to come in and impose himself and show all the Bruins fans, and he wanted to be a big bad Bruin, and he just got over his skis a little bit and took a shot and ended up lasting all of 4 minutes in the game. It was incredible. It was like the most bizarre thing. And the place was full. Everyone wanted to see Joe play. And it's like a heavyweight fight, a knockout in the first 3 seconds you pay for pay-per-view. You're pretty disappointing.
I can only imagine Joe Thornton's his kind of, he's got a little cackle, his laugh, in the hallway after the game, leaning against the wall, saying like, I don't know what I did. I can see him knowing like that. Like, I just remember that vividly, watching that. Everybody, you're like, what?
Yeah.
No, funny stuff. All right, let's fly through a few other things from last night's 4-3 overtime loss to the Washington Capitals. Carson Kuhlman gets in his first game. He is what he is. And I mean that, we know what Carson Kuhlman is, and I think we know what he's not going to be. If Studnicka's healthy, you put him back in over Kuhlman. I would. I
Yeah.
think I would. Would you too?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's not a, look, I mean, the reality is you need somebody with more offense with
Yep.
David Krejci in
Yeah.
that spot. So, Carson Kuhlman gets in. I love the kid, played 12 minutes, 19 seconds. I love him for his effort, determination, et cetera. But
Yeah, it's not a slight. He's in the NHL. He's doing his job.
Right.
But, not everyone gets to be Wayne Gretzky either. So
exactly. So let's see. I thought Zaboral handled the pressure real well last night, the physical play real well. Continues to be good signs, good signals coming from him, Lozon. But in particular, I thought Zaboral was more noticeable last night.
Agreed. I like his game, and he's developing, and that was a big spot. These games are big for a young guy because the coaching staff, management, organizations looking at them in these kind of situations, and he keeps passing with good colors, flying colors, and again he's a first rounder. He played really well in the AHL, so he has some stud in him, and he continues to get better. So. I like his trajectory. I like the way he played last night. I like the way he handled himself against a big bruising team.
All right. So is there anything taken away from that game last night that I guess I'll ask you, but I'll say we would like changed from the Bruins heading into Monday? I'll tell you that there are a couple of times that the Bruins, here's the thing, they did a really pretty good job really through the neutral zone. And there were other times where they played right into when the Caps don't have the puck, they've gone back now to what is what I would call a passive neutral zone. I termed it a 1-3-1 last night. Sometimes it's just a layered neutral zone that we saw. We've seen it similar to Ottawa did it at times. Other teams have done it when they don't have the puck. They close on neutral zone. I thought the Bruins turned it over a few times there, but it wasn't to the point where it was an issue. It was harmful, but I maybe just like to see them keep getting through the neutral zone. I wouldn't change much. I mean, Peter Laviolette, Razor, he has stated publicly he wants 85 shot attempts, 85 cumulative shot attempts. That's what his goal is. He's a volume guy, okay? Whereas a Barry Trotz was quality over quantity. Meanwhile, the Bruins, I mean, they had 43 shots. They had 80-something chances overall. They had it. And the Caps had a total of 43 attempts. So the Bruins did a lot of stuff right in that game.
They did. They did. They did everything but get the win, and it comes down to going down 3-0. Bergeron doesn't make a great play in the neutral zone, right? So the Bruins do have a tendency sometimes to get lulled into that 1-3-1, and they start forcing things a little bit instead of just getting it in deep and working from there. And yes, Laviolette's teams, Nashville, Carolina, Philadelphia, they put tons of pressure, tons of pucks to the net, and the Bruins handled it. Again, they got out of the zone very easily most of the time. So I wouldn't change anything. I think they draw it up the exact same way on Monday and go right back at it. If they play that way more times than not, they're going to end up winning 4-3 than losing 4-3.
I would agree. Listen, 4-game road trip, 2 here, Wash, 2 then in Philly. I'm not saying I want them just to get 4 points, but I'd love to see them get a minimum of 4 of 8. Look, if they can get 5, and I'll be greedy with 6, but if they get 4 or 5 points on this road trip, I'm all for it. So a pretty good start in the nation's capital, holding the Caps to just 43 attempts, 23 which hit the net. Caps did get bodies in front. Overall, I would say on this morning brew, good effort from the Bruins. Let's see how they do on Monday. We'll reconvene Tuesday morning for another morning brew. Youth hockey today or no?
I'm off right now. I'm off the block right now.
All right. Good luck with that. And
thank you. We'll see you later tonight. Yeah,
sure. Be good. That's morning brew. Caps beat the Bruins 4-3 in overtime.